it should be more of a organized killing rather than slaughtering.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, I mean, you don't want to be, you don't want your children, everybody witnessing that violent act.
Because I've also heard about many children who, at their homes, after seeing the slaughtering in open, they've fallen sick.
Yeah, because I don't know, I mean, I might be impacted because the way I turned into vegetarian was about seeing the slaughtering happening. It was because of that. It was not because of anything to do with religion or anything. And then, it's how a lot of people have also, now you see a lot of young vegetarians, you ask them, a lot of their triggers have been seeing these sacrifices taking place. So I think it has its own societal impact. I think more of a, more in-depth studies are required in this. But then this needs to be debated. I'm not saying that, I mean, there's no counterpoint to this, but then, the fact that this viewpoint that, we need to relook at this.
Let's also look at it from this way. The animals being imported in the capital at least, and also in the other parts, it increases by multiple folds. Of course, we don't have specific data on this, but it's multiple folds. And this is because of sacrifices. If the consumption of meat didn't go as much as it goes during Dashain, and if people didn't do that, the number would go down. So, as an economist, do you think that's a fair idea?
No, I think, meat consumption, if you look at basic laws of meat consumption, even if you get in China, I mean, it increases as societies become affluent. And sort of people can afford.
But for
meat,
us, Dashain is a time where people in the bottom of the pyramid, even if they have to loan it, they would go and buy. They would try to buy a khasi or even if it's a chicken or whatever, they would try to buy. And they have to slaughter it at home. Of course, there's a ritual. So that consumption goes up during that.
I think I'm not too bothered about it. If you look at an annual consumption of a very affluent Nepal, the meat consumptions would be multifold. So I'm not too bothered about that perspective. I'm sort of from the consumption side and that part of it. I'm more worried about this sort of the way, the mannerisms in which this sort of the acceptance of violence. I mean, that's the sort of more worrying part, because if you look at meat consumption, it's going to increase. It has increased in the past. If you look at the sort of meat shops in Kathmandu Valley 20 years ago and now, it has increased multifold. Of course, I think Nepalis pay one of the highest prices for meat. I mean, in the region. So which also shows that there is a pent-up demand, and as people become affluent, people would want to sort of have more meat in their diet, and I think this is sort of their global statistics that show that, and which of course puts up pressure on the environment, which means that there's more feed to keep the animals, and sort of there's a competition for that same feed.
With every slaughter, we are increasing our carbon footprint.
So and consumption of water. So these things are there. I mean, so that's another set for environmentalists to talk about.
So what about Dashain changing in other ways? Okay, I mean, we talked about families going out, the nuclear families. How different has it become? I mean, we can talk about your own experience 20 years ago and now.
No, I think Dashain, there has been a trend, as I said, of I mean, especially with nuclear families, people going out. I mean, I never stay in.
We don't see as many kites as we used to see.
But then there are a lot of traditional things that we can revive: swings, kites, and also to see how you can leverage this for your own tourism. And because this is one of the best weathers, especially if you look at Kathmandu, Pokhara, and this is one of the best weathers one has during Dashain. And this is the time we should be having airplane loads of people coming here.
And amazingly, we have everybody staying home.
Yeah, and then suddenly we have restaurants closed. If you look at in Calcutta, I mean, where I mean, this is a huge consumption time, because nobody stays at home. Everybody's out. There's a puja pandals, and all that.
Which spend crores and crores of rupees on
and then people come out. There's so much of restaurants do brisk business. I mean, roadside stalls do brisk business. So this is one of these epitomes of sort of consumption as far as Calcutta or even a good part of Bengal is concerned. And in Nepal, what happens is Dashain means everybody goes indoors. And so how do you convert that into more economic activities? We have seen over the years that more restaurants are staying open during Dashain, more people are being able to. But then we have this whole thing about we're not having enough workers because everybody moving out of Kathmandu. So there are these constraints.
This is something we feel as a journalist, because we have to work during Dashain and we have no place to eat.
That's
and
true.
I'm sure even if you have a family which wants to go out, even to shop around during Dashain, a few days of Dashain, it's all closed.
So it's about to see how do you keep things open during Dasai. That's the other challenge. I mean, if we really want Dasai to be the festival where consumption is going to increase and people will do more business and as a contribution to the economy, then we have to see how do you keep these cities, and especially the cities, open during Dasai. How do you sort of get events around, be it the kite flying, be it the swings, be it so many things that happen during Dasai. It's just a great festival. But then what has been, a lot of the nuances of the festival perhaps also being lost.
We talked about changes, and somehow this very Nepali habit of 6 days of rest and 1 day of complete rest has not changed. It only gets worse during Dasai.
Yeah, because I think it's also to do with, I mean, it's a good time for everybody to take long breaks, and especially in Kathmandu, you'll see a lot of the population dwindling because we have a strong, internal migration into Kathmandu. So a lot of people go out, and so this is a good time for people to meet their families and friends, and yeah, so it applies, I think, to a larger section of that society, because if you look at more of the entrepreneurial family, and if you look at from the Newari community, I mean, you have Newars, I mean, you have more festivals. So, I mean, Dasai is only one of the many festivals that are there, because you are taking rest many times a year, not only during Dasai.
And we also see a lot of people are trying to spend a lot during Dasai and have to pay later on, rest of the year.
I think
and we're talking about bottom of the pyramid,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's there. I mean, that's there with not only with Dasai, with a lot of other festivals. I mean, if you it could be same for Chhat, it could be same for Losar, or any of the other festivals.
So somewhere the hype about Dasai or any other festival adds to that. Would you say that?
I'm not too sure about that.
Because a lot of advertisers would keep on telling you, you're getting this offer, this discount, this free with that, and you're tempted to buy.
No, it also, with this whole concept with advertising, is a very Western concept. And what people are trying to do is that, and if you look at in the West, I mean, look at the US and Europe and all, I mean, 40% of the consumption takes place during the holiday season of Christmas and New Year, and during that time. So what happens is that, and that's the time when everybody spends a lot of advertising dollars. So what you're doing is you're trying to replicate that here. And I'm not sure how much of these advertising dollars are actually, converting it into, sort of sales, because there are, a lot of other times when people buy. It's not only, sort of during Dasai that people go and shop, and especially with white goods, I'm not sure. I mean, sort of, unfortunately, not much of trend and statistics are available in Nepal, so, you can't really judge these issues and to really make some sort of a hardcore analysis as to whether sales have actually gone up or down.
Okay, to wrap up, I'd ask you 3 things you want to change about Dasai, the way we celebrate it.
I think
both as on a personal level, and of course as an economist as well.
Definitely, I think we have to see as to how we can leverage Dasai to become something that can add more economic value, is to see how you can keep yourself open during Dasai and how you can get more activities that would draw people out and people spend, and that's one part of it. The other is to really see that how do you market this in globally, how does this fit into our entire tourism strategy. I think that's something that needs to definitely change. And third, definitely I would go back to my sort of pledge to have a sacrifice-free Dasai in the future.
I'm a little surprised you kept it at the 3rd place. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Somesh.
That was Sujeev Shakya, an business executive, a writer, and chair of Nepal Economic Forum. Thank you for watching. Keep watching Kanpur TV.